Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for coming. I see a lot of very illustrious faces out there, people that I know, people that I've worked with. Thank you so much for coming to the special, we believe, a special board meeting. Today is January 16, 2019. I call to order the Orleans Parish School Board Business Meeting for January 16th. The time now is, what do we have? 5:40. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ashley,
Present.
Mr. Brown,
Here.
Miss Ellison,
Here.
Mr. Kleben,
Here.
Mr. Koppel,
Present.
Mr. Marshall,
Here.
Miss Neil Usden,
Here.
also present Dr. Henderson Lewis Jr. and Sharonda Williams. Board Council, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Just want to remind everyone, interpretation services are available during today's meeting, and I yield to the interpreters.
Thank you. Buenas tardes, me llamo Amelia, soy la intérprete al español. Si hay alguien que necesite interpretación al español, nomás me avisa con la mano y estaré sentada al fondo si necesitan ayuda. Gracias. Thanks.
Xin chào toàn thể quý vị, tôi tên là Việt, tôi là thông dịch viên. Nếu quý vị cần thông dịch, xin cho tôi biết. Tôi sẽ giúp quý vị. Xin chân thành cảm ơn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For our Pledge of Allegiance tonight, we have a few students from Harriet Tubman Elementary School Leadership Council. And may I say, I was once principal of Harriet Tubman Elementary School. We have Miss Janae Martin, 8th grader. Where's Janae? Raise your hand. That's Janae, come up. Mr. Walter Simmons, where's Walter? Walter, thank you. Walter's the 8th grader. Miss Demi Porter, Ms. Porter. She's also an 8th grader. And Miss Kalia Kalia. Didn't mess up your name, Kalia. Miss Kalia Kane, 7th grader. Please stand, everyone. These students will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all so much. And where's the leadership from? Okay, taking a picture. Okay, thank you all. Thank you for having those students join us. Adoption of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
We have one modification to the agenda, Mr. Brown.
Okay.
Action item 4.5 will be deleted.
4.5. Okay.
I move adoption of the agenda, accepting the modification.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Adoption of the minutes from December 16, 2019 Board Business Meeting as provided. Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications to the minutes? Hearing none?
I move we adopt the minutes as printed with no corrections and waive the reading.
Okay, we have a motion. Did we get a second?
Second.
We do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. We move right to the superintendent's agenda.
Thank you, Board President Brown. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to see so many of you all here today. And I want to start off this evening by giving you an update on the progress we have been making on school bus safety. As of today, schools confirmed to us that 86% of the bus fleet serving NOLA Public School students has undergone inspection and is now in compliance. This is up from 60% just prior to holiday break. This is a critical progress, but we cannot be satisfied until 100% of the fleet is meeting this standard. Operators have until February 13th to have all buses pass inspection. Additionally, we are establishing a working group to address our transportation challenges for the long term. Our goal as a district is to ensure that our students are transported to and from school safely, and we will continue to provide the necessary oversight to ensure that happens. Next, I'd like to take this moment to thank the entire Orleans legislative delegation of state representatives and senators for all of their hard work and support through the years. I'd like to acknowledge Representative Walt LeJay and Senator Troy Carter specifically, who were instrumental this year in the success of Act 430, which provides more flexibility and direct school support with existing dollars. Also, I'd like to offer my congratulations to Senator Dr. Joe Bowie and Senator Jimmy Harris on their new roles in the Louisiana Senate and for their partnership. And congratulations to the recently elected and now sworn in members of the Orleans delegation. We are looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Recently, we had the privilege of celebrating our oldest living retired educator, Ms. Burnett. Today, we'd like to celebrate several more educators with over 100 years of life. Let me say it again. Today, we would like to celebrate several more educators with over 100 years of life. I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you. I'd like to call up Major Alice Marcellus to share our appreciation of this excellent group of valued educators. Following Ms. Marcellus will be Euless Collins to recognize Coach Wayne Reese, and then Dina Hasiotis to recognize the hard work and achievement of several of our schools. Ms. Marcellus.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Lewis, and community members. It is my esteemed pleasure to honor several individuals who retired from the school district as they celebrate over 100 years of life. These retirees were dedicated, committed leaders who shared a wealth of knowledge and service during their employment with the Orleans Parish School Board. We have prepared a short video presentation to highlight each of our honorees.
Teach a child the way it should go. Your first teacher is your parent. And parents, you have to be an example. So my life has been around children. I love them. I devote my life to them. We are proud of public education.
We're so proud to bless you and honor you on today for 102 years, and we ask that God keep you.
So God bless you. And these are for you. The roses representing a spirit of love, which you have loved the children of the city of New Orleans all your career and throughout your career. So we just bless you and we give you a kiss. God bless you.
That's recognizing your service to our young people here in New Orleans for your outstanding service as a teacher, for all the years that you served, and for obtaining something that very few of us ever will, 100 years old.
At this time, each family will be called to the front of the boardroom to receive recognition and take a photo with the board members and Dr. Lewis. Each centenarian is receiving congratulations and commendations from the state of Louisiana House of Representatives, Representative Royce Duplessis, congratulations and commendations from the state of Louisiana Senate of the Louisiana Legislature on motion of the Honorable Troy Carter, State Senator. Also, 2 acknowledgments from Xavier University for 2 of their graduates, and a plaque from Orleans Parish School Board recognizing this high achievement. During our planning of this recognition, one of our retired centenarians who recently celebrated her 101st birthday transitioned from labor to reward. In memoriam, Mrs. Ina Lovings will be posthumously recognized for serving as a head baker for the Orleans Parish School Board for 15+ years. Mrs. Lovings retired in 1986. She was the mother of 2 educators, Almentine Smith, who retired from Jefferson Parish School System as a teacher, and Wilhelmina Wanda Hogan Strader, who served as a principal in the New Orleans public school system. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Ina Lovings. I would like to ask at this time if Dr. Donaldo Batiste, retired Associate Superintendent from the New Orleans Public School System, would come forward to receive the honor on her behalf.
Another round of applause.
Earlier this afternoon, NOLA Public Schools was notified of the transition from labor to reward of Mrs. Ethel Lamarck, who served as a teacher at Thomas Alva Edison Elementary School with 11+ years of service and was 101 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Ethel Lamarck. Dr. Batiste, can we have you come forward at this time once again? Mrs. Lenora F. Barnett served as a teacher with 42+ years of service and is presently 102 years of age. She is also the mother of an educator, the late Ronald Barnett, who served and retired as a principal in the New Orleans public school system. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Lenora F. Barnett.
Before we take this picture, I know we have at least one student of Ms. Barnett here. Yeah. Ms. Eames, do we have any other students, Ms. Barnett? Please, please. We'd love to have you as a part of this picture.
My second grade teacher.
Get over there, Superintendent. Over there on that side. Yeah. Stand right in front of me. Congratulations again. Congratulations.
Mrs. Virginia M. Johnson served as a teacher with 30-plus years of service and is presently 100 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Virginia M. Johnson. Mrs. Onelia S. Martin served as a teacher with 38-plus years of service and is presently 101 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Onelia S. Martin.
Congratulations again.
Mrs. Olivia S. McDomick served as a custodian with 18-plus years of service and is presently 100 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Olivia S. McDomick. Mrs. Molly J. McDonald served as a head baker with 15-plus years of service and is presently 100 years of age. She is also the mother of an educator, Mabel Roche, who retired from the Algiers Charter School Association. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Molly J. McDonald. Mrs. Mary J. Nickelberry served as the Assistant Supervisor of School Social Work Services with 32 plus years of service and is presently 100 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Mary J. Nickelberry. Mrs. Mildred E. Nash Prim served as a teacher with 22 plus years of service and is presently 100 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Mildred E. Nash Prim. Mrs. Mildred L. Reese served as a teacher and principal with 40 plus years of service and is presently 101 years of age. Mrs. Reese is the oldest living retired principal in Orleans Parish. She could not be with us today. She could not be with us today. However, she has requested that one of her former students from when she was principal at Fisk Elementary School in 1952 accept this award on her behalf. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Mildred L. Reese. Mrs. Norma Stahl served as a teacher with 36 plus years of service and is presently 100 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Norma Stahl. Mrs. Jewel B. Touye served as a teacher and the first school librarian at Alice Hart Elementary School with 37 years of service and is presently 100 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Jewel B. Touye. Mrs. Ruby H. Wheeler served as a custodian with 15 plus years of service and is presently 100 years of age. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Mrs. Ruby H. Wheeler. At this time, I would like former school board member Mrs. Gail Glapion to come forward to receive the honor for Mrs. Mary Nickelberry. Dr. Lewis and members of the board, it gives me great pleasure to inform you of the reuniting of several of our centenarian retirees because of this outstanding initiative. They were lifelong friends who went to school together from elementary to college, raised and educated their children together, having only lost touch in the past 2 years. Mrs. Nickelberry and Mrs. Barnett, they thank you and send you love. This concludes the retired centenarian recognitions. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Lewis, and community members. I am humbled and honored to present this award to our next honoree, Coach Wayne Reese, head football coach at McDonough 35 High School. We have prepared a video to commemorate Coach Reese's accomplishments. When I first started working at McDonough 35 as a teacher and coach, Coach Reese took me under his wing and showed me the ropes of coaching. Since then, Coach Reese has been a mentor and friend to me for nearly 20 years. Coach Reese has been in the coaching and teaching profession for over 40 years, with 35 of those years in service to the students of Orleans Parish. Over the span of his career, countless students have gone on to play in the NFL after receiving scholarship opportunities to attend multiple colleges and universities. Coach Reese is also well respected in the coaching community by high school, college, and NFL coaches alike. They oftentimes visit with Coach Reese and look to him for guidance and feedback on not only his program, but other programs citywide, because they know he has a pulse on the talented students in our community. Last November, Coach Reese celebrated a significant milestone in his coaching career when he earned his 250th victory. The Orleans Parish School Board and NOLA Public Schools honors Coach Reese and his family on this achievement. Anyone who knows Coach Reese is aware that his family travels far and near for football games. Please give Coach Reese a round of applause as he takes a photo with superintendent and board members. We're gonna play the video.
let me just say just a few words. For a lot of years, since 1964. When Xavier and track. He beat me in the high 120-yard high hurdle back then. He was very good at it. Tennessee State, and I went on. His son is following in his footsteps. He's a coach and doing very well now at
We will now play the video for Coach Reese.
In 1970, that's when I started coaching football. And from then on, you know, I never coached the game for the what you call the money of it. I just coached it because of the lack of it, and I was just surrounded with a whole lot of good people. And so, you know, in my ride, 51 wins that I've had, I have had a great ride. I'm telling you, it's not too many principals and stuff, and people got to realize the principals and the presidents of the universities and stuff, they don't run the school. And if it wasn't for them to give you the green light to go ahead and do so you can make a successful program. And I'm just delighted that I can coach this long and be connected with the kind of people and stuff that you know that we had and that I had and everything. So I'm just thankful for what I'm doing and what I like to do and stuff. And thanks to my coaches and stuff and all those guys that actually guided me into the right direction and say. And I never thought that I could, you know, could do this job, but all the people that's around you keep telling you that, you know, you're all right. You're doing good and everything. So I'm just blessed. You know, blessed to have a great wife and everything. That I don't think many wives can stick up with a football coach, not the way I coach and everything. But the only thing about my family and stuff, they be with me everywhere I go. So, you know, that makes it easy for me. I don't have to look over my shoulder and say, are they here? I know they're there and everything. So, you know, with all this accolade and stuff like that, I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
Let's give Coach Reese another round of applause.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Lewis, and community members. Tonight, I have the honor of recognizing the students, staff, and leadership of some of our NOLA public schools that are outpacing their peers here and across the state in the areas of academic achievement and growth. As we always know that as a school system, we have made much progress and there's still much work to do, we also know that it's extremely important to pause and recognize the great and hard work being accomplished across the city, especially among the group of schools here tonight. We will be awarding several types of awards tonight, so I'll give a description of those now. Tonight, we will be recognizing schools that received Special designations from the Louisiana Department of Education, such as equity honorees that recognizes schools that are demonstrating excellence in serving students that are historically disadvantaged. We are also recognizing top gains honorees for schools that have demonstrated exceptional student progress. We will be awarding the OPSB School of Distinction Award, which will be given to those schools who received an overall letter grade of B from the Louisiana Department of Education for the 2018-19 school year. We will also be awarding the A Exemplary Student Growth Award, which will be given to those schools that received an A letter grade for their academic progress made among their students. And lastly, we'll be awarding the OPSB Award for Top Achievement, which will be given to those schools who received an overall letter grade of A for the 2018-19 school year. And several of our schools have received several of those recognitions, so I will call them out in the order of as how they've received those tonight. Once I announce your school name, I do invite, we have representatives from the schools here tonight to come up to the front, receive your banner, and so that we can take your picture and recognize you all here tonight for your hard work and that of your students. The first award tonight will be the School of Distinction Award for receiving a B overall letter grade to Sophie B. Wright High School. Next, the School of Distinction Award will be given to Eleanor McMain High School. Next, School of Distinction, Bricolage Academy. Next, we would like to honor the schools that are School of Distinction and also were recognized as an equity honoree. The first is Abramson Psi Academy. Next, for being a School of Distinction and an equity honoree, New Orleans Charter Science and Mathematics High School. The next award is for School of Distinction and also for an A for exemplary student growth. Audubon Charter School. Next, these schools are, we receive a School of Distinction, also A for exemplary student growth, and top gains honorees. The first is Frederick Douglass High School. The next, School of Distinction, A for exemplary student growth and top gains honoree, Rosenwald Collegiate Academy. The next school has 4 recognitions. This is for School of Distinction, A for exemplary student growth, top gains honoree, and an equity honoree, Alice Hart Charter School. Yeah, there we go. The next awards will be given to those that received an A for exemplary student growth. The first, Homer A. Plessy Community School. Next school receiving A for exemplary student growth, Paul Habens Charter School. Then next, A for exemplary student growth, Kip Morial. Next, A for exemplary student growth, Samuel J. Green Charter School. Next, A for exemplary student growth, Andrew H. Wilson Charter School. A for exemplary student growth, Mildred Osborne Charter School. Next for A, exemplary student growth, Einstein Charter School at Village de l'Est. Next, for A, exemplary student growth and also top gains, Esperanza Charter School. Next, A, exemplary student growth and top gains, 42 Charter School, McDonough 42. Next, A for exemplary student growth, top gains, and also an equity honoree, Dwight D. Eisenhower Charter School. Next, to those schools that are receiving the A Award for Top Achievement and also Equity Honorees, Edna Carr High School. Next, A Award for Top Achievement and Equity Honoree, Warren Easton Charter High School. Mr. Brown. Next, to these schools who are receiving an award for A, Award of Top Achievement, also A for Exemplary Student Growth, also Top Gains, and also Equity Honorees. Edward Hines Charter School. Next, receiving the A Award for Top Achievement, A for exemplary student growth, top gains, and an equity honoree, Lake Forest Elementary Charter School. Yeah. Next, an A award of top achievement, A for exemplary student growth, top gains, and an equity honoree, Lusher Charter School. Lastly, this evening, there are two schools that were unable to be here this evening with us, but I would like to recognize them. The first being one that won the Equity Honoree Award, Travis Hill School. And lastly, for receiving an A Award of Top Achievement, A for Exemplary Student Growth, Top Gains, and Equity Honoree, Benjamin Franklin High School. This concludes our recognitions for tonight. Thank you.
Jesus. Boy, y'all want me out. Yes, sir. Yep. I need to. I missed one.
Excuse me, y'all, we need to come back. I missed our friends at KIPP Leadership. I apologize. KIPP Leadership. Yeah, we're going to. Yes. Yes, yeah, come back, come back. My apologies. My deepest apologies to KIPP. We will. It was for A, exemplary student growth. Thank you. Another round of applause. KIPP leadership. There. Oh, Christy. One more. Yeah. That concludes. I'm sorry.
And finally, I would like to, and she's already up here, Dr. Kelly Peterson to introduce Dr. Silas Lee. Dr. Peterson.
Good evening, Chairman Brown, Superintendent Lewis, and members of the board. In the development of the charter authorizing priorities for new schools, we sought to include both parent and community voice as a foundational data point for this. This past fall, Christine Barker, our Director of Portfolio Innovation, led this work, which began with a citywide portfolio needs assessment survey. That survey provided insight not only on portfolio needs, but also public confidence in public education in New Orleans. We engaged in this work with Dr. Silas Lee and associates to execute the survey, and today he is here to present his findings. Dr. Lee.
Good evening, and thank you. First, some background on the survey and the methodology. The purpose, as stated, was to measure the perceptions and opinions of residents as well as parents towards public education, as well as offer a roadmap to the potential and reference to the implementation of various programs and initiatives to enhance student achievement and nurture perceptions. So as a background, we surveyed 460 residents, combination of parents as well as public and private school parents and community members, which included residents without children in public school. And it was a citywide survey, and that survey highlighted the composition of the Orleans Parish School District, as well as reflected demographics of the city itself. Some highlights from this survey relates to the fact that we have potential, and perceptions have changed. The reason I say perceptions have changed when I reflect on the fact that I've been measuring public attitudes on public education for more than 30 years, and I've seen swings from the extreme positive to the extreme negative, and what we see right now is a recalibration of perceptions, and residents are willing and open to enhancing their perceptions on the direction of public education as well as how it has improved. Right now, we notice there seems to be a trend in terms of public perceptions improving and the ability to nurture and enhance those perceptions. Another major fact is in reference to school choice. And what we see here is that there is some disparity in reference to African American parents and white parents being able to get their child in the school of their choice. There's a gap between African American parents saying yes, they were able to get their child in the first 3 schools of their choice compared to white parents. And that's something that I noticed was a trend in the past. But again, it represents the potential to address the expectations of parents and residents in the future. Then in reference to would you send your child to a public school, what we see here is another opportunity for potential. And what I would encourage you to do is look at those who would say that they would probably send their child to a public school. They represent the persuadables, those who want and they are waiting for more evidence of changes, and they can see the potential there, but I can indicate that whenever people say that they are waiting and there is the possibility, that reflects openness and the potential for receptivity once they see more evidence of things changing. And we can see some gaps in terms of African Americans and white parents as well as private school parents. But again, it serves to identify the potential for parents as well as the district to nurture perceptions and enhance achievement. Then did your child attend public school? And well, did you attend public school? And what we see, there were two questions: did you attend, and also in reference to children. But this highlights us the fact that in New Orleans, we've had two school systems, a public and a private one. And in reference to who attended the schools, African Americans overwhelmingly attended public schools more than whites. And we can see also that in terms of students, African American students are more likely to attend a public school than white students. So in terms of the customer base for the school district, it does highlight the fact that it will continue to be predominantly African American, and we can see this trend in the future in terms of acknowledging some services that students and parents want to see in reference to addressing public education. Then the grades. What grade would you assign to the public school system of New Orleans? What we see here is that about 60% gave it a grade of between A and C. And that's encouraging, considering that we noticed that in the past there was a difference in terms of perception, so we can see a gradual upward swing in terms of perception. It's better to be at a C than a D, and I also encourage you to look at the distance between the C grade and the D grade is at least a 20-point difference. That is significant, and that represents the potential for growth to convert how people perceive what is average to becoming above average and excellent schools. But again, the distance between the C and the D is encouraging because it does show potential and the opportunity to enhance perceptions. Would you say public education is getting better, worse, or remaining the same? And with this result, what I see here is that residents, in particular parents, they feel that public education is getting better, but that we have differences in terms of perception by race. And this does reflect the need to enhance communications and make people feel aware of the achievements and make people aware of new initiatives to address student achievement in the future. I think we need to take a pause and not get distracted by the fact that when you look at public education getting better and remaining the same or getting worse, this is quite often episodic. It depends on what is happening in the political and educational environment. So whenever we take surveys, I always caution clients that depending on the political and educational environment, that impacts perception. And what we have right now is perceptions being impacted, but it is encouraging that with African American parents and with white parents, there's potential for growth and improvement in reference to education improving in the future. Overall, how informed are you in reference to public education? It's always a good opportunity to recognize the distinctions between information accuracy and information consistency. We live in a multimodal society, and we have to acknowledge the convergence of traditional and social media. A lot of the information that people may get on public education may come from other venues and not necessarily the education venue, but they feel that they are getting the information, just need to make sure that it is accurate and consistent. Residents want more information, And I can see that as time progresses and passes, how we dispense information and what we inform the community and parents about will enhance their perceptions and confidence about public education. And confidence in reference to public education improving in the future. This is encouraging because it tells me that residents haven't given up and they feel that things will improve in the future. I can tell you from research we've done 10 to 20 years ago, this is a reversal in terms of perceptions. And this reversal in terms of perceptions is reflective of the fact that they see changes, they feel confident in the changes, but it takes time for them to accept those changes and grasp with the realities. Now, there will always be some interruptions, but again, the fact that we see more people saying they have confidence than no confidence, that always offers the opportunity for rehabilitation and, more importantly, the opportunity to encourage and nurture support and perception. So in the future, I can definitely tell you that there is support and confidence there, but we always have to acknowledge the fact that all progress can be temporary sometimes. And we have to nurture and be very strategic and aggressive in how we communicate and monitor what the community knows as well as what parents know. And I thank you for your time. Any questions?
Any questions from board members?
I actually would like to ask Dr. Lee, as you have referenced, you've been surveying and asking questions about public education over time. Do you have other trend data that you can show us? You've mentioned it in your comments. It's not captured here because this was a survey at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be curious to look at that information and for us to be able to track it over time, because I think it's important for us to know in our policy-making decisions as well as for our families and most importantly our students to be aware of.
I can give you some examples right now. Some of the information we had got lost from the hurricane. But from 1988, I remember some of the millages in 1988, 98, and 08. 1988 and 1998, it was a very difficult time in terms of perceptions and in terms of how voters would support, in this particular case, a millage renewal. We had intense opposition. And what you have in your favor right now is you do not have the public opposition now that you had then. And that public opposition came from members of the political bodies sometimes, other elected officials. So we do not have that opposition that we saw in the past. And that contributed to a higher percentage, what I call an upside-down pyramid, of more people saying they had a negative perception and no confidence than people saying they had somewhat of a positive perception and some confidence. Now, we were able to get those millages passed because they were very specific and very dedicated. And what I see for the past 20 years, the community has been holding on for confidence, for change. And now they can feel that some things are changing and that they have confidence in that change. But it takes time in terms of people gaining more confidence and more acceptance to various initiatives. Because keep in mind, it's a competitive environment in terms of attention. And in order for people to retain information, you have to see it 7 or 8 times, not from a very episodic perspective. So over the years, I've seen that reversal from being no confidence to some confidence. And that's very important. And also when you look at the grades from A through D, the fact that you had this 20-point gap between B and C, that means it's easier to rehabilitate the C than try to move from D to a B.
Okay, and did you all capture comments from surveyors that you might be able to share with us as well? That I know as a kid, you got your report card, but then your teacher wrote comments, and the comment section often were where you would learn the most. And I'm curious if you all have that information, if you'd be willing to share it with us.
Yes, they do have some of that information. And most of the comments in terms of parents and community members related to learning more about the future and initiatives, some related to school choice. That was some comments that were pretty much reoccurring in reference to that, but definitely learning more. They would like to know more, and that probably means that we have to nurture traditional and non-traditional methods of communicating to parents on a consistent basis.
Gotcha, thank you. If there's a chance we can get a transcript of those comments, that would be wonderful. I don't know if that's possible or not.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Of course, if we get it, you get it.
Okay.
Any comment from board members?
I'd ask the question.
I would like to once again thank Dr. Lee for your presentation on today.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Public comments on our action items. So.
In the call on the action item? Did it turn in a card on an action item? Is this part of an action item? We haven't gotten to the action items yet.
Before I conclude my report, I would like to conclude my report this evening actually recognizing our board president, Mr. John A. Brown Sr., and our vice president, Ms. Leslie Ellison, who have both served for 3 outstanding years as board leadership. Can we give them a round of applause on today? And so we want to present to Mr. Brown as well as Ms. Ellison
Thank you all.
I'm going to ask Krista to come up to take a picture of our president and vice president before we go into the action items. And at this time, I'll yield to Board Counsel for action item 4.1.
And before you,
Yes, I'm
that's
sorry.
okay,
No,
no
go ahead.
problem,
Go ahead.
Superintendent. Before I turn it over to our board counsel for election of board officers, let me just quickly say, before I step aside as board president, let me first of all thank this board for having the confidence in me and having me serve 3 whole terms, emphasize 3 whole terms. Let me also thank the superintendent and all the members of his staff of Orleans Parish School Board and the NOLA Public Schools staff. Hold your hands up. Thank you all so much. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for all of your support and your help as we go through this. So as I go on as a board member, I will continue to support and serve this board and this community as I have as a resident of this great city for so long. So I look forward to serving whoever our new president will be. But again, thanks to all of you, and thanks to this staff and this board for your support. Okay. Ms. Ellison, would you like to say a word?
Just want to say thank you to the entire board, along with Dr. Superintendent Lewis and the staff of Orleans Parish School Board, the entire city of New Orleans. We have served, and I will continue to serve, as Mr. Brown said. I love doing what I do. I love serving District 4 and being a part of the community and seeing our kids being educated and just being among all of the great things that our educators and our school leaders are doing. And I just want to say thanks to them for their support and supporting the efforts of this board. Again, it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve for 3 consecutive years as vice president. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. Moving to
If I
action
may.
item 4.1, yes.
Mr. Brown, if I may just
Yes,
really
go ahead,
quickly just also return the gratitude to both of you. Folks don't realize how much extra time is required to attend the events, to come in and sign the paperwork, and it's underappreciated, underaccounted for, and we're grateful, especially for going the extra term. You all have done a tremendous job, steadfast, consistent, loyal to our mission, and we were lucky to have you.
Thank you for those words, Ben. Thank you so much. I yield to Board Council for election of school board officers.
Action item 4.1, election of school board officers. Pursuant to OPSB policy BBA, at its first meeting in January of each year, the school board shall elect one of its members to serve as president and one to serve as vice president in separate ballots for a term of 1 year beginning in January. The president and vice president shall receive the votes of a majority of the full membership of the school board, 4 votes before being declared elected. Each officer may hold office for no longer than 2 consecutive terms. The election will be by ballot. The ballots have been distributed and are located in the folders before you. So that the public is aware, I will collect the ballots, read aloud what the vote is for each board member, and tally the votes. The board member receiving 4 or more votes will be elected for the particular office, president or vice president. We will have a nomination process to start the balloting. If no member acquires at least 4 votes, there will be a second round of voting, and so on until one member acquires the 4 votes majority for that particular office. So at this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the president of the Orleans Parish School Board.
Mr. Ethan Ashley as president of Orleans Parish School Board.
Second.
There is a nomination and a second for Mr. Ashley for board president. Are there any more nominations?
I move that we close the nominations for president for Orleans Parish School Board.
We have a motion to close nominations. Is there a second to close? Before we move on to the voting, we did receive 1 comment card on this item from Kenny Tucker. Is Mr. Tucker in the room? Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay. We have a motion and a second to close nominations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nominations are closed, so please cast your vote on the ballot before you, and I'll collect them. For president, yeah. I've received the 7 ballots, 1 from each board member. The votes have been cast as follows. By Mr. Brown, a vote for Mr. Ashley. By Mr. Koppel, a vote for Mr. Ashley. By Ms. Ellison, a vote for Mr. Ashley. By Mr. Ashley, a vote for Mr. Ashley. And by Mr. Marshall, a vote for Mr. Ashley. By Miss Houston, a vote for Mr. Ashley, and by Mr. Cleben, a vote for Mr. Ashley. So it is unanimous. So Mr. Ashley has been elected president of the school board. Congratulations. and you will
Congratulations,
step down.
congratulations. Let me congratulate Mr. Ashley, our new board president. Come and take your seat here, sir.
So next, we'll move on to the vice president election. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the position of vice president of the board.
I'd like to nominate Woody Koppel.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second for Mr. Koppel as vice president of the board. Are there any other nominations?
I'd move to close nominations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close nominations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nominations are closed, so please cast your vote on the ballots before you, and I will collect those when you're done. I've collected the 7 ballots of all the board members, and it is unanimous. We have a vote by Mr. Brown for Mr. Koppel, a vote by Mr. Cleben for Mr. Koppel, a vote by Ms. Ellison for Mr. Koppel, a vote by Ms. Newell Houston for Mr. Koppel, a vote by Mr. Ashley for Mr. Koppel, and a vote by Mr. Marshall for Mr. Koppel, and of course, a vote by Mr. Koppel for Mr. Koppel. So he is now elected as Vice President.
If y'all want to speak.
So I'll just say really quickly, it's an honor to be nominated and then really elected by this board to be the president. It is definitely going to be hard to follow in John Brown's footsteps, but I look forward to having your mentorship to be able to hold the standard that you held at this illustrious seat. And I really appreciate my colleagues for the vote of confidence. It means the world to me, and I look forward to having the opportunity to serve in leadership with my colleague Woody Koppel. At this time, I yield back to Board Council.
Okay, now we're at action item 4.2, Resolution 01-20. It's recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board adopts Resolution 01-20, authorizing the board president to sign contracts and other official documents on behalf of the board and authorizing the vice president to sign in the president's absence.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved, waiving the reading of the resolution.
I have a motion. I have a motion. There's a motion and a second.
There are no
there any
cards? No.
No cards. Can I get roll call?
Mr. Ashley?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Ellison?
Yes.
Mr. Cleben?
Yes.
Mr. Koppel?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. Newell Houston?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, great, thanks. Next, action item 4.3, System-Wide Needs Program Proposal. It is recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board approve the System-Wide Needs Program Proposal.
So moved.
A motion and a second.
All comment cards on this item. Alex Jarrell.
Good evening, everybody. Congratulations, Mr. Ashley, board, and of course, Dr. Lewis. My name is Alex Jarrell, and I lead the talent work at NSNO New Schools for New Orleans. And I came before you guys 3 months ago and talked my best about how we're facing these massive talent challenges across the city. While our schools are on the front lines and are working incredibly hard to help support our teachers and our leaders, these issues are large and they're systematic. In our neighboring cities, Houston, the similar demographics in the ISD district, they have virtually the same teacher attrition as we do. Our teacher preparation programs across the country are seeing applications plummet by 35%. And so I'm just really excited for the proposal in front of you guys today and how there is a systematic solution to these systematic problems. And I just wanted to applaud Dr. Lewis and Ms. Asiotis. The plan is robust, it's strategic, and it really puts in place support and investment for our teacher preparation programs and puts a stake in the ground to say that, hey, it really matters to have teachers that look like the kids we serve, and that there's pathways for current teachers to get additional certification and to get credentials and professional development. And so we're just really confident in this plan to know that it'll make an immediate difference, and wanted to thank you and wanted to say that in front of you guys today.
Thank you.
Next, Dr. Ken Ducote.
Ken Ducote with the Greater New Orleans Collaborative of Charter Schools, Suite 3040 at 2401 West Bend Parkway. Was glad to see that this is moving forward. We just had a few suggestions we wanted to put on the table for consideration that we have discussed with some of our colleagues around the country faced with similar problems in a forum that we're trying to get some creative solutions to them. The first one is we think that it's, of course, very appropriate that there be an effort to increase the number of STEM teachers and increase the number of teachers of color and get more diversity. We think also that as a sub-objective, those things should be combined so that we're actually trying to increase the number of African-American teachers, especially male teachers, in the STEM subjects. We think it is important for children to see teachers in a range of diversity, but also see teachers of color like them, but not only in the discipline office or on the side of the athletic field, but also in the science labs and in the mathematics classrooms. The second thing is we think that one possible strategy is to take advantage of some teachers who may be certified in an area that is overpopulated with qualified teachers who are committed to long-term service in our career, but who could use some support to become certified, especially in the entry-level STEM courses. So we think that the teachers who are existing, but in the wrong areas, so to speak, are a potential source. And finally, we did want to point out to you that there are some existing programs. For example, the teacher recruitment program that some of your own schools and RSD schools have been working together with teacher fairs and computer databases for the last 13 years. And we think that those efforts should continue to be appreciated and should not be allowed to languish because of lack of financial support. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last comment card is from Cristian Morio Rasdos Fuero. That's your name? Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to speak. So one of my comments, first of all, I want to thank, I met with the superintendent visiting Einstein this week and asked for a meeting, and they promptly got back with me to schedule that meeting. I want to thank for that. One of the things about the system-wide needs, or what I would like to say, is that I don't really see a lot of programs, and looking at the population of our ELL parents, we don't have a voice. I have an organization. I don't have it registered as a nonprofit. It's just a grassroots organization where parents can come and share their concern. And a lot of the concern is that they don't have a voice. They're still fearing of retaliation when they speak, and there's a lot of concern. So one of the things that's happening right now that I would like the board to really take a serious look at is the assault that's happening on our children. We have seen videos this week where a teacher has been kicking students at Crockett. I have just went today to Einstein to advocate on behalf of my godson that alleged that a teacher hit him with a cell phone. There's a lot of issue that's happening, and these children don't have a voice. And what I'm seeing repeatedly in the line of work that I do is that Latino parents are not coming up because they're scared of their immigration status, and they're scared to speak up because they're scared that the police is going to get involved and that it's going to reflect on them. So I think that as a school board, we need to look at that. If there is an attack on our students by teachers, we have to create a path on how to communicate. What's really happening, it's not happening. It's being swept under the rug. And I have evidence how it's being swept under the rug. And we're not like to call out school and saying you're bad and you're good. We're just want real transparency where parents can have a voice to make sure that our children are safe. And I think that a lot of issue that's happening, when we talk about school-wide, we need to also look at how we protect our teachers. Because of the charter movement that we have here in our city, all of our charter schools at will employment, these teachers also don't have a voice to be able to speak when they are being attacked and being pushed out. We had 17 turnover at our Einstein charter, and we need to look at that for the safety of our children and the safety of our teachers. Thank you.
That's the last card.
May I just say this? Thank you, Ms. Christie, for coming here this evening. Again, we will be meeting with you as well as with the parents, and I will remind you, just as in the past, when you brought information to my attention, and in particular to Einstein, we went ahead and we addressed that, and I also feel that we actually resolved that. And so is there other issues? I know you elevated one today, so I'm going to ask one of my staff members to get more information on that.
Yes.
And then as we meet, and if there are other issues, I'm going to ask you to bring those up at that time.
Yes.
And as far as the incident that happened, that Crocker that you were referring to, my administration and the Orleans Parish School Board, we are looking into that incident that has taken place.
Yes, because the teacher aide that recorded it, she was terminated, but the teacher that actually did the incident, that had her foot and kicked that child, is still hired. And so we definitely want to make a look into that, because we will start protesting at that school every day until we get answer.
We are looking into it. And again, thank you for being here today, and I will be meeting with you and the parents.
Thank you for all you've done for the school also. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, if I can say one more thing, because she did see me at Einstein Charter School on Monday. Myself and members of my team, we spent pretty much the entire day, met with their administration and went to every single school and made observations and to get a pulse of what's going on at the school. And so we're looking forward to also meeting with our parents to understand the concerns that they may have. And I'm actually going back to the school on to Einstein actually next week.
So is there any more cards? So we have a motion and a second.
There are no comment cards at the moment. Sir, you haven't put in a comment card. They're not supposed to be available throughout the entire meeting.
So we have a motion and a second. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes.
I'd like to make a comment if that's right. I just want to say how excited I am about this fund and the need to address some very critical needs. Mentor teachers, I know my mentor teacher when I was a teacher was a game changer. For us to be having students in our schools and to help our schools with stipends for those teachers and to address the behavioral and mental health needs of students, it's really remarkable work, and it's, I think, a great use of the district's resources. And I just want to thank all of those countless school leaders and teachers and the administration who put time in to define a really good plan. I think it's going to have long-reaching ramifications for our student outcomes, so thank you.
Next, action item 4.4, request for independent local education agency status. It's recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board approves the request from Warren Easton Charter High School Foundation, Inc. to allow Warren Easton High School to operate as its own local education agency status effective July 1st, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any cards?
There are no cards on this item.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Action item 4.6, it's a request for proposal number 20-0017 for risk management consulting services. The Budget and Finance staff recommends that the Orleans Parish School Board approves the proposal meeting the specifications for risk management consulting services from Arthur J. Gallagher, Inc. in the amount of $45,000 for one initial one-year period with the option to extend for 3 additional one-year periods subject to OPSB approval, and to authorize the General Counsel to prepare a contract for signatures of the board president and the contractor.
So moved.
I'd like to make
A substitute motion.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that we reject this proposal.
Second.
And if I could briefly explain why, in further exploration after the committee meeting, finance committee meeting, about our approach to scoring this proposal, I learned, and my colleagues learned, that I believe there is an imbalance between the level of weight that's placed on what could be subjective in qualifications and experience versus very objective measures like price. And if our district is committed to equitable opportunity, especially for small and disadvantaged business enterprises to participate in our procurement, I think we need to re-examine that system. And so I asked that the staff would go back and relook at that and make sure that we aren't a district where just because the company that's always had the contract, therefore has all the experience, gets all the points, and then nobody else has an opportunity.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor of the substitute motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the substitute motion passes. Can we go on? I'll entertain a motion for the substitute, for the passing of the substitute motion.
Second. So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Are there any cards on this issue?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Action item 4.7, request for proposal number 20-CN-0018, second letting for warehouse storage and delivery of USDA commodity goods. It's recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board approves the proposal meeting the specifications for warehouse storage and delivery of USDA commodity goods from Second Harvest Food Bank of Greater New Orleans and Acadiana in the amount of $75,000 for 5 months for 2019 to 2020 fiscal year and $175,000 annually for the next 2 fiscal years with the option to extend for 2 additional one-year periods, and to authorize the OPSB General Counsel to prepare a contract for signatures of the board president and the contractor.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any cards?
None.
Hearing none. Hearing that there's no cards. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Action item 4.8, Resolution 03-20 regarding bond counsel. It's recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board adopts Resolution 03-20, a resolution pertaining to the continuing appointment of Attorney Wayne J. Nephew as its bond counsel through his current law firm, Butler Snow LLP, and authorizes its general counsel to forward said resolution to the Louisiana Attorney General for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Waiving the reading of the resolution.
We have a motion waiving the reading, and we have a second. Are there any cards on this? Hearing none, can we get a roll call?
Mr. Ashley?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Ellison?
Yes.
Mr. Cleben? Mr. Cobble?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. Neal Usen?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Action item 4.9, Resolution 02-20, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of a supplemental revenue anticipation drawdown note. It's recommended that the Orleans Parish School Board adopts Resolution 02-20, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of a supplemental revenue anticipation drawdown note of the Orleans Parish School Board, State of Louisiana, in a principal amount not to exceed $120 million to D&T Asset Trust, a Delaware statutory trust wholly owned subsidiary of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, and an accredited investor and qualified institutional buyer, making application to the State Bond Commission for consent and authority for such borrowing, authorizing and approving the transmission of irrevocable instructions to the Director of Finance of the City of New Orleans to deposit certain funds directly into the Orleans Parish School Board Supplemental Revenue Anticipation Drawdown Note Sinking Fund account until the supplemental drawdown note is paid in full, and providing for other matters with respect to the foregoing.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval of Resolution 02-20 and waive the reading of the resolution.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's a second.
Mr. President, if I may, could I ask just for a brief explanation, since this was fairly last minute added to our agenda? I just
Yes.
appreciate the understanding.
Diane Allison is going to come up. Diane?
Good evening, board members and superintendent. This is due to an anticipated delay in receiving local revenues collected by the City of New Orleans and to protect the Orleans Parish School Board after consulting with bond counsel. To provide some historical information, in November, the board issued $40 million in revenue anticipation notes, primarily for the purpose of forward funding charter schools, which is done every year. Recently, there has been a delay in the Orleans Parish School Board receiving taxes collected by the City of New Orleans. Specifically, we last received ad valorem taxes collected on January 14th, 2020, which was Tuesday of this week, which were taxes collected by the city from the taxpayers from June 14th, 2019 through July 2nd, 2019, and totaled just under $500,000. Payment was in the form of a cashier's check. I spoke with Mr. Norman White, the city CFO, with whom I have been working closely and directly, earlier this afternoon, and he stated that around March or so, we should receive ad valorem taxes collected by the city between July 3rd and December 31st, 2019, since their new property tax system is now fully implemented. To relay information that Mr. White provided to me, taxpayers can now make their property tax payments on the NOLA.gov website as that system is fully restored. Yesterday, the mayor announced that the city is extending the deadline for taxpayers to pay property tax payments from January 31st to February 14th. Hence, the largest ad valorem payment we receive from the city will be delayed into March. As you may know, the city received a ransomware attack on December 13th, 2019. Today, we receive sales taxes that we would have normally received around December 23rd. This afternoon, Mr. White stated to me that we could expect to receive all of our next sales tax deposits on the 20th of each month, including this month. Out of an abundance of caution and to make sure we have enough cash on hand to make timely distributions to charter schools, meet payroll obligations, and pay our operating and capital projects invoices timely, the finance team performed a cash flow analysis and estimated that we will need approximately $120 million through the end of this fiscal year. Late yesterday afternoon, we contacted our bond counsel and banker to begin discussions on our options to borrow money on a short-term basis, resulting in the resolution you have before you.
Ms. Allison, I heard a couple of potential causes to the delay. One is the ransomware attack, and then did I also hear you correctly? There's a new software IT system in place?
Yes, sir. And in summary, those are both the reasons.
Okay. So one was potentially in the control of the city, and one, it's fair to say, probably was outside of their control. Is
Yes,
that right?
sir.
What can you quantify the financial impact to our budget this year by potentially tripling, if we had to actually triple our borrowing on these notes?
At this time, I do not have that exact data because I do not have the interest rate that will be charged. I will tell you that this is a drawdown note, which means that we will only draw down the amount of money we need and pay interest on it,
Right.
not to exceed $120 million. The resolution says the interest rate will not exceed 6%, and to put that in perspective, the interest rate, the true all-in true interest cost of the $40 million we issued in November was only 1.8%.
Do you have an estimate on what this could entail, or could you bring it maybe to the next finance committee so that
Yes,
we can
sir, I
understand the
will.
impact, because this may require either a budget amendment or at least anticipating a variance?
We will have that, sir.
Thank you.
What happens if we don't get the payments on the 20th?
If we don't get the payments on the 20th, right now, the school system does have cash reserves. And we estimated yesterday afternoon, based on information we had at the time, worst-case scenario is that we do not receive any disbursements from the city through June 30th. Hence the need for the total not to exceed $120 million. However, that is not the case, because I learned this afternoon that the city we received sales tax money today, and that they are now on time and will be sending it the 20th of every month, including this month, which is just in a few days.
Thank you.
One thing that I was thinking about, because this was a cyber attack and it's outside of our control, perhaps we should look at our insurance to see if we can tap into some sort of, I don't know, what?
Yes,
A claim,
ma'am, and
make
we
a claim,
just
yeah.
recently purchased cyber insurance.
But, I mean, perhaps for this particular incident, we may, I don't know. So that's something to explore. I don't know if that's,
Thank you. We will explore that.
All right, so there is, board members, any other comments on this? There's a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Mr. Ashley?
Yes?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Ellison?
Yes.
Mr. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mr. Cobble? Yes. Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. Neil Houston?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Next item, Mr. Ashley, is executive session.
So moved.
I'll take a,
Second.
I'll take a motion. There's a motion. Is there a second to go into executive session?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The time now is 8:45 p.m. Calling back to order the business meeting of the Orleans Parish School Board. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Ashley,
Present.
Mr. Brown, Ms. Ellison,
Here.
Mr. Cleveland,
Here.
Mr. Cobble,
Present.
Mr. Marshall,
Here.
Ms. Neil Usen,
Also here.
also present Dr. Henderson Lewis Jr. and Sharonda Williams, Board Counsel. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I yield to Board Counsel.
The Orleans Parish School Board convened an executive session to discuss the character, professional competence, physical and mental health of our person, school board personnel, and no action will be taken.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We are adjourned.